What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about 5 unique Artificer multi-class character builds. Kind of a mouthful. Um, for these builds, we're only going to be going up to level 12 in depth. I think that's just kind of the area that a lot of campaigns tend to end. I might give my suggestions for going up to level 20, but of terms and like ability and stuff, we're just going to go up to level 12 today. So, before we jump in, I do want to give my personal hot take. All right? I believe artificers should be full casters. It makes no sense that the people that are out there making legendary frickin' magic items can only cast up to level 5 spells. Like, excuse me. Who? What? Anyway, let's get into the builds. Alrighty. So, first up, we have a super fun build that I like to call Lightning Punch. Pew, 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 pew. So, how we're going to start this build off is we are going to take 5 levels in Artificer all the way right there. And that's going to get us a bunch of things. We're going to get, our proficiency is met, all the artificer goodies, our infusions. But where our choice really matters for this build, of course, play as you want, do what you would like, but I would really recommend going Armorer. And for a secondary option, I would recommend going Battlesmith. The reason that I'm recommending you go Armorer for this build is because we're all about the punchy punch. The punchy punch. Even though we're not going monk, alright, I get it. But this is gonna our hands are gonna be our weapons for this build specifically. Because then at 5th level we're gonna get our extra attack. That's what we're really after. So we can pop. And then after that, you do need high stats for this build, unfortunately, because you want your highest stat, of course, to be in intelligence, and then you're also going to need a 13 in charisma and a 13 in strength to take the levels in paladin. But you can also always just talk to your DM and be like, hey, I'm not really going to use these stats, but I really want to take the paladin level, and it fits with my character, blah, 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 blah. Always talk to your DM. But if they say no, you still need high stats. So, here we go. Then for paladin, we're going to take 2 levels in paladin. That's going to get us a bunch of great stuff. Normal paladin stuff, we're going to get some, a little bit of healing, divine sense. We're going to get a fighting style, which could be really handy. I just went with defense here for this build. But then, the big one we really want is Divine Smite. So starting at 2nd level, when you hit a creature with a melee weapon attack, you can expend 1 spell slot to deal radiant damage to the target in addition to the weapon's damage. The extra damage is 2d8 for a 1st level spell slot, plus 1d8 for each spell slot higher than 1st level to a maximum of 5d8, and then the damage increases by 1d8 if the target is an undead or a fiend to a maximum of 68. So, that is really cool, because as an artificer, we're a half caster, and we have our gauntlets. For the arcane armor model, of course, I did forget to talk about this earlier, but you are gonna want to go with the guardian, because so that way you're making melee attacks. So your gauntlets count as simple melee weapons. So when you attack with your gauntlets, you can use a spell slot, and then you can Divine Smite or Arcane Smite, however you want to flavor it, I think that's super cool. And then after we take those 2 levels in Paladin, we're gonna speedrun Wizard. We're gonna take 5 levels in Wizard, which I know is crazy. So that's gonna get us a ton of stuff. And for your arcane tradition, you can really choose any of them. For this build specifically, I would stay away from blade singing though, personally, because it doesn't really fit with what we're trying to do. We're trying to go smash, smash, punch, punch in big armor. So there is that. I think, Chronergy Magic, super powerful subclass. Also, Order of the Scribes, a really great one. Could fit the theme very well. Like if you have this arcane pen that you made. Yeah. But the reason we're going into Wizard is, of course, our intelligence is already really high because of we're an Artificer, right? That's our main class. But you are going to get up to 3rd level spells with Wizard already. So just by taking these 5 levels. So what this does is if we went straight up to Artificer and went 10 levels in Artificer instead, we would only have 3rd level spell slots. Whereas if we take these 5 levels in Wizard, this brings us all the way up to 5th level spell slots and increases our smite damage by a lot. A lot. We have a lot more spell slots to punch, smite. So that is why I went to Wizard Terror. It also gives us access to a bunch of other utility things that are in the Wizard spell books, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and you are going to be a little bit squishy and you have to be careful of that. But the nice thing with armor is hopefully we're going to be getting that AC really, really high. So that way we're not going to be hit as much. Yeah, and Wizard is also going to give us access to spells like Shield, since armor doesn't do that anymore. So yeah, a lot of great things in this build. And then I'm also going to give a race recommendation. You don't have to take this race, of course. But personally, I think the variant Tiefling or the variant Feral Tiefling are great choices here because for your options, you can take the winged the option and get a flying speed. However, winged Tieflings are the only race in the game that can fly and wear medium armor. So you're not going to be rocking the heavy armor, but you're still going to have a fly speed and you can wear medium armor. And there's still a lot you can do with medium armor and you can still really get your AC up there. So that would be my personal recommendation. Yeah. So let's get on to the next build. For this next build, I'm calling this the Arcane Armorer. I don't know. Okay. So we get all our normal Artificer stuff, our spells as well. And we're gonna take 5 levels in Artificer again right off the bat. You can choose whichever subclass you want for this build, but this would be another one where I also recommend going Armorer. But this time I would recommend, of course you can always change your armorer model, but I would recommend going Infiltrator because this is a character who wants to be really stealthy. They use their magic to kind of enhance their stealth and how they get around. They're very quiet, So after we take those initial 5 levels, again, we're going to get extra attack. We're going to go into Rogue. And then we're going to take 3 levels in Rogue. And what that's going to get us, a bunch of stuff. We're also going to get Expertise, always very useful. We're going to get our Cunning Action, which is going to increase our movement speed even more, which is great. We're also going to get our Roguish Archetype. So here I went Arcane Trickster. You can go anything, but I went Arcane Trickster because it gives us more spells, so our spell slot progression doesn't entirely stop when we're taking these levels in Rogue. And we get access to the Wizard spell list, which can give us a little bit of more versatility. And our Intelligence is our spellcasting modifier, which is great, so we don't need 2 additional stats here. Or another additional stat on top of Intelligence and Dexterity that we have to improve. Because we're already trying to really get those 2 stats as high as we can. So after that, you're going to take 2 more levels in Artificer. This will put us at Artificer level 7. And we're going to get our Tool Expertise, which is really nice. So yeah, we're gonna have expertise in thieves tools. So I personally wouldn't take expertise in thieves tools for your expertise choices because we're gonna get that with the artificer. But we're also gonna get flash of genius, really great ability. And then we're gonna take 4 more levels in rogue. What? I can math. No, we're not gonna take 4 more levels in rogue. We're gonna take 2 more levels in rogue. I'm sorry. I wrote that down wrong. I was so confused. Um, and that's gonna get us an ability and score improvement and also uncanny dodge. And uncanny dodge. Uncanny dodge. I can talk. um, both, awesome things. So personally, if you're gonna continue on with this build after level 12, I would recommend maybe going to level 7 in Rogue and then just going the rest of the way in Artificer. Yeah. So, oh, and for my personal race recommendation for this build, I would go with the Smurf Neblin, the Deep Gnome. You're probably like, what? So this race, they were updated in Mordenkainen's the race one, the one that just came out, the new one. There's so many books. So you're gonna get Dark Vision, you're gonna get Gift of the Smurf Neblin, which is gonna give us a couple more spells, which is great. Then we're gonna get Gnomish Magic Resistance, so we have advantage on Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma saving throws against spells, which is great. But then we're also gonna get Smurf Neblin Camouflage. So when you make a Dexterity or Stealth check, you can make the check with advantage, and you can use a trait the number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. That's a pretty helpful ability. I also just like the flavor of these guys, being little creepy, sneaky dudes. Also you have 120 feet of dark vision, which is really helpful. So, yeah, that's it for this build. And again, I do want to clarify, these are all just recommendations. Do whatever you want, do whatever makes you happy. This is just to, maybe inspire you, give you some cool, fun ideas of character concepts, new things to try out. So, maybe just something outside your normal wheelhouse. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. So, all right, this next build here is a little crazy. It's a little out there. Hear me out though, please. So, I like to call this one the skill expert. So we're gonna start off, and we're only gonna take 1 level in Artificer, okay? That's gonna give us proficiency in our Constitution and our Intelligence saving throws, which those are great. And we're also gonna get our proficiencies. And this build is all about getting as many proficiencies as possible and expertise in as many skills as possible. Now, this might not be optimal. There might be a better way to do it, but I think this is super fun. It's super fun. So, with that, after we take our singular level in Artificer, we're going to take 2 levels in Bard. And what that's going to give us is more proficiencies, but we're also going to get our Jack of all trades feature. So, starting at 2nd level, you can add half your proficiency bonus rounded down to any ability check you make that doesn't already include your proficiency bonus. That's great. We have half proficiency in all the skills that we can't get proficiency with. Boom. Bada bing, bada boom. So, after we take our 2 levels in Rogue, after we take our 2 levels in Bard, we're then going to take a singular level in Rogue. And that's going to get us another proficiency, but also our first expertise. And we're going to get expertise in 2 skills right off the bat, which is super helpful. So then we're going to be at character level 4 here. We're going to have a lot of proficiencies already, but we're also going to have expertise in 2 skills. And we're kind of all about the slow burn, collecting these skills like as we go. This is a character who wants to constantly be learning things and improving themselves and gaining knowledge. from anything they can find out in the world, reading books on like anything and everything. So, yeah. So after we take our 1 level in Rogue, we're going to take another level in Bard. And then that's going to give us our subclass. So for our Bard College, personally, you can do what you would like. But since we're focusing on skills for this build, I would really recommend the College of Lore. So I would go the College of Lore because that's going to give us bonus proficiencies and we're going to get expertise. So we're going to, at this point, at character level 5, have expertise in 4 skills and proficiencies in a crap ton of things. And you can choose whatever proficiencies you want. You can build optimally, or you can build like flavor-wise, or you can just be like, yes, I read a book about medicine, and now I know medicine, you know? That's the fun part about D&D. You can do what you want. So after that, we're gonna take 4 more levels in Artificer. And this is going to give us our Artificer Specialist. A specialist. Yes. You can really go with whichever you want here. Whatever works for you. I went Armorer because I like Armorer a lot. But most things will work here. Yeah. So then after that, we get our 4 levels in Artificer. That way we'll also have extra attack if you take a subclass that has extra attack, ability score improvements, a bunch of stuff. And I would recommend making it, for this build, intelligence your highest score, and then charisma your second highest, and then just make sure you have that 13 in dexterity so you can get that 1 level in rogue. But I would also make sure for your spells, just a recommendation, you're taking damaging spells from the Artificer spell list, so that way you're going to get the higher like attack roll bonus and saving throws. But for Bard, I would take spells that are like either buff or debuff spells, and potentially they don't need like saving throws, you know, like your healing words or your silvery barbs, things like that. But you're also going to get magical secrets, since we're going, if you go College of Lore. If you go College of Lore, you're going to get magical secrets as well. So then you're going to get an even wider variety of spells that you can choose from. So after that, I don't know why that I wrote. So after that, you're going to take form. Yes. No. Anyway. After you take your 4 levels in Artificer, then you're going to take the rest of the way level of College Lore Bard. Because that's going to get us our magical secrets, our counter charm, a bunch of great things. And then that's going to take us to level 12 with this build. And there's, I guess the best way to put this. So for this build specifically, if we're going up to level 20, I do want to give you guys just a direction here. What I would recommend doing is going up to level 10 in College of Lore Bard, because that's going to get us another ability score improvement, but more importantly, we're going to get more expertise. We're going to get 2 more expertises, and then we're going to get additional magical secrets. So that's why I would recommend going all the way up to level 10 with Lore Bard. But then I would recommend going the rest of the way, Artificer, and you do want to get to, after you get to level 6 in Lore Bard, personally, for that level 13, I would go level 6 in Artificer, because that's going to give us our tool expertise. So then we're not only going to be really good with our skills, we're going to be really good with our tools. And that's why I also chose Artificer for this skill expert build, because we're not just great with our skills, we're also going to be really good with our tools. So I think that's also an interesting concept to have a skill monkey that's like really good with skills, but they're not just a skill person. They can also have like practical applications with those skills and using those tools. That's just how I see it, you know? So yeah, that's basically it for this build. But then also for my rice recommendation for this build, I would go half elf because overall you're gonna get a +4 to your stats, and other than mountain dwarf, half elf is the only race that gets you a +4 to your stats, which is crazy. Um, you're also gonna get skill versatility, which is gonna give us 2 more skills instead of 1, because most races will only give you 1 other skill, so that's why I chose half elf. And then, languages, all that kind of normal racy good stuff. But then my other recommendation for this build specifically would be to go either Variant Human or Toshto's Custom Lineage, because there's a specific feat that works really well with this build. And I would also take this feat probably as soon as you get the chance with this build with your first ability score improvement. And that feat is called Skill Expert. And what it does is it's going to give us another proficiency, another expertise, and it's going to boost one of our ability scores by 1. So it's a great half feat, especially for this build. So that would be my recommendation. Try and get it as early as you can if you want with the races. And if you can't, get it as soon as you can when we're doing our level ups. So yeah, that's going to be it for this build. I hope you enjoyed. Let's move on to the next one. Okay. So for this next build, I like to call this one the Mad Scientist. So for this one, I imagine someone that's like constantly experimenting on themselves. Because we're gonna do Artificer and Blood Hunter, which I know is an interesting combination. But I think there's a lot of flavor text you can really go with here. If the Artificer is someone that's messing with themselves, like always, causing like trouble, injuring themselves, maybe they're like really reckless with their experiments. To me, it kind of makes sense that it would kind of go to the point where they would become a blood hunter, in a sense that like they took their experiments to the next level. Like as the campaign goes on, this character gets more creepy and more dark, and you see these like changes actually happening to them because of the magic things that they're creating. So for this build, right away we're gonna start off and we're gonna go 5 levels in Artificer. And depending on your subclass, that's also going to get you the extra attack, which is why we really want to go the 5 levels. If you're doing a subclass that doesn't get extra attack for Artificer, then you could just go 3 levels in Artificer and then get right into the Blood Hunter. So for Artificer Specialist, for this, I would personally, flavor-wise, I love the Alchemist for this. I think it makes a lot of sense. However, the Alchemist is kind of dookie. Personally, I think, and it's not the best Artificer subclass. But if you're all about the flavor, definitely go with the Alchemist for sure. But I think another one that may work for this again is the Armorer. If you're experimenting on yourself, you're experimenting on like your armor. I think the Battlesmith could also work, and so I mean honestly any subclass could really work, but my 2 main recommendations for this would be the Alchemist or the Armorer. So after we do that, we are going to go to Blood Hunter. And we're going to take 3 levels in Blood Hunter. So that's going to get us a bunch of stuff. Our Hunter's Bane, Blood Curses. We're going to get a fighting style, which is always really helpful. We're going to get a Crimson Rite. And then we're going to get our Blood Hunter order. So for this, I think you could go a lot of these. I think Order of the Lycan might even work, Order of the Ghost Slayer, Order of the Profane Soul, but I think the one that really fits what we're trying to go for is that creepy mad scientist vibe. Order of the Mutant is the best option here, flavor wise. So we're gonna go Order of the Mutant, and that's gonna get us our mutagen craft. So basically, we're going to be able to create a certain number of mutagens, and we're going to get formulas. And there's a lot of formulas. You can go through them, choose which ones you like. But the thing with these formulas is they do have a upside, but they also have a negative side. Because a lot of the benefits might be really good, but then there's going to be a consequence that comes with it. And I think that really fits the flavor of what we're trying to do here. So say if you go with this one called Conversant, you have advantage on intelligence checks, however you have disadvantage on wisdom checks. So things like that, just to give you all an example. So after we take those 3 levels in Blood Hunter and we've become this kind of creepy experimentation on ourselves, we are then gonna go 1 more level in Artificer, and that's just gonna get us our tool expertise. And after that, we're then gonna take 3 more levels in Blood Hunter, another ability score improvement, and then we're gonna get our Brand of Castigation as well. Bunch of great stuff. And there's gonna be kind of a lot going on with this multi-class, but I definitely think if you play it well, like if you are an experienced player of D&D, I think this could be a lot of fun. I would definitely not recommend this to anyone who's just starting. Personally, I would never recommend a Blood Hunter to someone who's never played D&D before because I think it's a pretty complicated class compared to other options. So yeah. For this build, I would personally recommend Hexblood. There's a very creepy flavor around it, and I think for this build, our Eerie token is a really cool flavor ability. So as a bonus action, you can harmlessly remove a lock of hair, one of your nails, or one of your teeth. This token is imbued with magic, and until you finish a long rest, you can use it in the following ways. So you can deliver a telepathic message, or basically watch someone, and it's from up to 10 miles away, which is a pretty good distance, and there's a lot of cool things you can do. It's almost like a mini familiar in a way, but it's your hair. I don't know, it's kind of gross, but I like it. There's also some other builds you could do, maybe like Warforged, or Shifters could be a cool one. So yeah, bunch of stuff, but that's just my recommendation. And that's the Mad Scientist build. So moving on to our next one. For this build, I call this one the Artifice Archer. I really like this build. Personally, I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I do, but I'm like, oh, wait, this is really cool. So again, we're gonna start off with our 5 levels in Artificer, but for this build, we're all about the bow. So I would play, you know, I just make sure whatever you're doing, you're gonna have proficiency in that longbow, because this is a longbow build here. So we are going to take our first 5 levels, and you're going to want to choose a subclass that's going to give you extra attack. So our armor is going to give you extra attack, and then also our battlesmith is going to give you extra attack. So those are the 2 subclasses that I would recommend for this build, so you're getting that extra attack much sooner. And then once we take our 5 levels in Artificer, we really want to focus on creating this like this cool arcane bow. So I would maybe use one of your infusions to make sure that you have a magic bow, especially if you're going like I would use one of your infusions to make sure that you have a magic bow, because that's kind of how we're flavoring this build. Especially if you're going battlesmith, because you have to have a magic weapon to use your intelligence for your attack modifiers. So there we go. And then after that, we are going to go into fighter, and we're gonna have our first we're just gonna run fighter. we're just going to run fighter for these 6 levels. We're going to go 6 levels in fighter all the way. So we're going to get just at first level, proficiencies, our fighting style, a second wind, and then at second level, we're going to get our action surge. But then at third level, we're going to get what we're really after, which is our martial archetype. So we're going to go with Arcane Archer. So we're going to be playing a long distance artificer, which I know is kind of strange, but it works. You know, you have this like powerful magic bow that you've been tinkering on and you're really honing your fighting style. And we're also going to get an Arcane Archer lore, which is really nice. We're just going to get a skill, but then we're also going to get a little cantrip. We're going to get Druidcraft or Prestidigitation. And that's really cool. It's just a little flavor. It makes me happy. So the big ability, though, we're going to get is our Arcane Shot. So at third level, you learn to unleash special magical effects with some of your shots. And when you gain this feature, you learn 2 Arcane Shot options of your choice. And once per turn, you fire an arrow from a short bow or long bow as part of your attack action. You can apply one of your Arcane Shot options to that arrow. And you decide to use the option when you decide to use the option when the arrow hits a creature, unless the option doesn't involve an attack roll. You have 2 uses of this ability, and you gain all of them when you finish a short or long rest, which is really great. So we're gonna get our options. You can choose whichever ones you like, whichever ones fit the build that you're building best. We're also going to get ability score improvement, but the reason we went up to 6th level is because fighters get more ability score improvements than any other class. So we're going to get another ability score improvement, which is awesome. So then we're going to take our last level in Artificer, which is going to give us our 2 expertise. And that's going to be it for this build. So for this build, personally, I would recommend going maybe up to, if we're talking level 20 here, I'd recommend either going up to level 7 in Arcane Archer or up to level 8 in Arcane Archer, and then I'd go the rest of the way with Artificer. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for this build. You're all about firing magic arrows and really enhancing those. You know, and if there's some spells that maybe aren't on the spell list that you want, like maybe, I think some of the spells that rangers get specifically are really good for firing arrows and all that kind of stuff. So I'd talk to your DM. Maybe you can change your spell list up a little bit, especially since you are an Arcane Archer. So I think you trying to learn that craft would really make sense, and you would eventually get access to some of those spells. But that's just my personal opinion. Make sure you talk to your DM. Always talk to your DM. That's what it's all about. Communication is key. Yeah, so then for this build, personally, for the race, I would recommend Fairy. You're gonna get a flying speed, which is a big one. And you're just tiny, and you're gonna be shooting deadly arrows. I don't know. It's cute. I like it. You're also gonna get your magic, which is nice. And you are gonna get the Druidcraft Crunch up here, so I'd recommend Prestidigitation if you do take Fairy with the Arcane Archer. So yeah, there's honestly almost any race though would work for this build. But yeah, so that's gonna be it. Thank you so much, guys. That's gonna be it for this video. But I hope you all have an amazing and wonderful day, and it's full of smiles. Make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment because it helps out the channel. And thank you all for all your support recently. It means a lot. All right. I will see you soon.